Life Management Science Labs would like to acknowledge that we live and produce this podcast on the traditional lands of the Wurundjeri people. We'd also like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands of our listeners and our international colleagues. We'd like to thank and pay our respects to their elders past, present, and emerging. Hi everyone, and welcome to Room by Room, the Home Organisation Science Insights podcast, produced by LMSL, the Life Management Science Labs. We're champions of life management science, providing structured insights informed by science and inspired by practice on key aspects of conscious living. Each week we bring you scientific and practical insights on each element, with the expert knowledge of professionals in the field. I'm your host, Gabriella Yastra, coming to you from Naarm, Melbourne, Australia. Let's begin.
Hello and welcome back to Room by Room, the Home Organisation Science Insights podcast. Gabriella has now left us in pursuit of the next step in her career. Godspeed, Gabriella. So I'm Marie and I'm filling in for her until we find a new host. Today we're diving into the wonderful world of toy organisation. For parents, maintaining a tidy and functional living space can feel like a never-ending battle with the constant influx of the latest shiny new toys out on the market. But fear not, because in this episode, we'll help you reclaim your living room from the sea of Legos and stuffed animals by picking the brains of the doctor-turned-KonMari consultant, Dr. Aparna Chari. She's on a valiant mission to help parents create peaceful family connections in their homes. But that aside, she's also a Montessori educator, a certified positive disciplined parent educator, and a certified coach in the conscious parenting method, as well as a mom of two. What a superwoman. Hi, Dr. Aparna. It's great to have you on the show.
Thank you so much, Marie, for that warm welcome. I'm so happy to be here.
Oh, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us. So out of curiosity, in your line of work, what is the most common issue your clients face as far as toy organization goes?
I think you mentioned it at the start of the podcast. Parents really struggle with understanding their spatial limitations and balancing that with what their children need versus what they want. And so I come in as a coach to help them align their family's values with their spatial boundaries at home, as well as what their children developmentally need. And so they do struggle with the space because they sometimes create a toy store in their homes. So all they need is a mindset shift in that sense, and also just a little bit of encouragement to get to that vision for what they wanted their home to look like and feel like.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm sure we'll get more into the details of what's storage solutions are possible. But for now, before we get started, I'd love to get to know you better. This is Have You Met Dr. Aparna Chari? My first question for you is, what is your favorite book?
So as an avid reader, it's hard to choose just one. So if I had to really pick, I'd recommend Simone Davies for Montessori parenting, Amit Pagedar's Finding Awareness, and that's for intentional living, and Julia Watkins' Simply Living Well for insights into sustainability, because I love all of these three different angles to the way I coach. So positive parenting / Montessori parenting, intentional living, and of course, sustainability and how to reduce our carbon footprint on this planet as parents, especially.
Yeah. And what about these books do you find the most grabbing for you?
So as a parent, time is it's a very valuable resource for me. So if the information is succinct, it's portrayed in a very non-judgmental way, and it's packed with practical tips at the end of the book or even interspersed between the pages of the book, I think that really helps me to finish a book in the time that I had envisioned to finish it. So I think these three books are books that I keep coming back to, which is one of the principles I share when I help my clients declutter their books, which is if you want to keep a book that you enjoy reading and coming back to over and over again, it stays in your home, it stays on that bookshelf. So I would say these truly spark joy for me, and I keep coming back to them for inspiration and for a resource.
Yeah, for sure. It's great to have resources like that because the parenting world can be so judgmental for some reason, like a lot of realms do. It's it's how the world works. There are judgmental people, but in order to learn, sometimes you need that like safe, non-judgmental space to learn a bit more. And so it sounds great. It's great that these books offer that to you. Now, as far as movie goes, what have you been enjoying recently?
Okay, to be completely honest, I've shifted my focus from watching movies to reading. I prefer reading over movies. But what I do love is the shared experience of watching Disney films with my children, and they are really into that. So my children at the time of recording, they're 9 and 11. So Disney movies are a favorite for all of us to watch. And our top picks on repeat are Encanto, Coco, and Mulan, because they do have beautiful messages that they share in the movies itself, which is to, appreciate yourself as a person and not just the gifts or talents you have, which is what Encanto was about. And this is what I share with my parent clients as well. Mulan was about, woman empowerment, and everyone, if you want to do something and set your mind to doing anything, your gender doesn't have to stand in the way. And Coco, of course, was just a family movie, and how you just enjoy the bonds that you share with your loved ones. So I really enjoy those three movies with my kids. And yeah, I think Disney movies go on repeat in our home, including karaoke sessions.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like there's so many, especially children's Disney movies. They always end with such a heartwarming note, and there's always this like family value and culture there that you can really help to instill in your kids. And that's the easiest way for them to absorb things like values and information, is to watch all these colorful, bright pictures. So it's really great for them to have that. We're also in a world now where, for better or for worse, we are saturated with media content. So they get to have all of these resources, if you will, to learn, which is amazing. So that's great that you enjoy watching Disney movies with your kids. I feel like I never got to do that as a child because, lack of media, growing up, it was like no TV, no movie. I mean, like there was a TV, it was just like not that normal yet to like watch it all the time, which is fair. But it's amazing that you get to spend that time with your kids as well. So my next question for you is actually going to be, what is an activity that you like doing with your kids?
So it varies. Both my children have different interests. So with my older one, he's a boy, and we have a dog who's currently 2 years old. And he and I have this shared interest of enjoying our puppy. So he'll come in and help me groom him, or he'll take a walk with me and Oreo, our puppy. So dogs, I think, is our shared passion. I really love that the two of us can bond over our dog. But before that, it would be just, being outdoors, just doing some art together, or even watching him play a video game. I'm not into video games at all. I've never grown up with video games, but he seems to be into it because of their dad. And so if I wanted to get into his space, I would want to be involved by just watching him. And that's what I do sometimes. With my daughter, the younger one, we do love to indulge in artistic expressions, to show off our creativity, so to speak. And we do a lot of things together. So we cook together, we bake, we've started brush calligraphy. We do rangoli, which is this beautiful artwork with dots and squiggles, if you have to say it in a very simple way. In front of homes, Indian homes, there's a design that you draw out, which is just a beautiful way to, again, creatively express yourself. So rangoli making is something we love. There's so many. So I think whatever they are interested in, I try to join in and just enjoy that time together, because one-on-one time with each child, especially if they have different interests and they're of different ages, is so important to fill their emotional bucket, because only once you've done that, the connection time, would they feel like collaborating and cooperating with you when it comes to tidying up, which we'll speak about, I'm sure, during this episode. So important to really give them that time together.
Yeah, that sounds wonderful. I loved like crafternoons with my mom as well growing up, and that's definitely something that like shared interests I feel like one of the catalysts for bonding, which is amazing that you have so many common interests with your daughter and that you enjoy watching your son play video games. That's amazing. So my next question for you is going to be, are there any podcasts that you listen to at the moment?
I love listening to podcasts when I can. I try to just focus on listening to podcasts and not something else. So a lot of times I know my clients will be multitasking. They'll be driving or listening to a podcast, or they'll be walking and listening to a podcast. So I recommend to my clients, because I'm a mindful living advocate, to really focus on that one task. If you're really listening to a podcast, just sit in a comfortable chair or on your sofa and then close your eyes and really listen to what they're saying, because you are immersed in the underlying messages rather than doing the activity that your hands are doing while listening to something else. Coming back to your question, I do have two favorite podcasts. One is by Kim John Payne. He's renowned for his work in simplicity parenting, and he really provides some valuable insights that align with my parenting values. Another one is on minimalist living for parents. I regularly tune into her podcast by Diane Woden. It's the Minimalist Moms podcast, and there are a lot of practical tips and perspectives that you can glean from her episodes. But I will start listening to your podcast as well. I understand that you have one as well. So it sounds really interesting, the work that y'all are doing. Love that it's research backed and really lovely topics that you'll talk about. So that's the new one that I'm going to explore.
Oh my God, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Yeah, we do have so many different topics that we cover. We also cover, like, we have a podcast that's specifically about family and parenting, which might be up your alley. And they cover all sorts of topics from like trauma to like family dynamics and things like that. So that might be up your alley if you want to start listening to our podcast. Really appreciate it. Yeah. So I wanted to also ask you if you had a role model that you looked up to.
I'm inspired by a wide range of individuals. It's very hard for me to just pick one role model. I would say my family, my clients, the online community of positive parenting advocates. They all contribute to my growth, and so it's hard to pick just one. Recently, there's been a person in India who my mom looks up to, and she's all about mindfulness and living in the present moment. And she's a lovely lady called BK Shivani. So I've been deeply influenced by her teachings, and that has influenced how I parent as well and how I show up for myself. And really understanding what purpose means, what mindfulness even means, and how to live more intentionally. So I would say at the end of the day, I really want to look up to myself. It's so hard to just love who I am and, live authentically so that I could be a role model to myself. I would like to embody what my children see in me. They always seem to look up to me and think I'm so perfect, but I'm constantly reminding them of the mistakes I make to show that I'm human, I'm fallible. And hopefully they learn that that's how you problem solve. That's how you come out of a complex problem, or really to love all the imperfectly perfect parts of you. And so I think ultimately we all have to look up to ourselves and love ourselves deeply. So I hope that happens one day.
Yeah, for sure. That's such an important message to send. I feel like, and I especially feel you on not having just one role model, because it's so hard to pick. There's so many different types of people out there, and most of the time, the more you hear about someone's story, the more you realize what kind of admirable traits they have, and the more you look up to them, and you kind of just realize that there are admirable traits in almost everybody. And it's also really important to look up to yourself as well and give yourself that credit, which sometimes in certain cultures it's not so much of a common thing to do, but it is important. It's also like because that's how your kids see you, that's how some people see you, and you have to like, as much as owning your mistakes, you've got to own your achievements as well. So that's really really well said. Now my last question for you is is there a course that you've taken in your lifetime that has inspired you till this day?
So I'm a course junkie. I love learning. And I think that's a quality I admire about myself, that I come from a place of humility rather than feel like I lack a certain skill set. I feel like our life is so short, and there's not enough time to take all the courses that you want to take and learn. So I think if I had to go back to what I recently took, I started bullet journaling with Ryder Carroll's course. And he is a master when it comes to living intentionally by using journaling as a tool. And what struck me profoundly was that it's not just organizing your tasks using bullets, but it's truly a transformative tool for living with mindfulness, because it encourages, you taking your pen to your paper and engaging with your daily life experiences and not just your tasks. And you look at your journal, at the end of the day, at the end of the week, at the end of the month and year, to reflect on your life's journey. And you see how you have portrayed certain emotions, whether your feelings were processed adequately, and you see your growth, in a very beautiful way. And it's just for you, because you want to put it down in a non-judgmental, objective way, and then give yourself that time to connect to yourself and see how you have evolved over time. So I think the journaling method, if you've read his book, or if you do plan to read his book, you understand that it's not just, here's how you open this page, this is the index that you need to make, but it really goes, he quotes so many wonderful people in the space, from Stoicism to a lot of philosophers and psychologists. It's just mind-blowing. And really, he has taught me to reconnect to the present moment using pen to paper, because to me, that was a daunting task, getting to journal every day, to have a ritual that you give yourself 5 minutes of. It used to feel overwhelming. But now that I have this tool that I can just offload my thoughts and come back to it and reflect, not just putting it down as a checklist, but using it as a tool to introspect, to make yourself feel like, hey, I have made this mistake, or this is my achievement, this is my gratitude, and then what can I take from those lessons and move on to the next day. So it's just beautiful. And I highly recommend this book to and his courses to everyone.
Yeah, journaling is so great. I myself started journaling years ago, not like regularly, just kind of like I've talked to a few journaling coaches, and most of them agree, like any type of journaling, as long as you feel like that's what's meant for you, is journaling. And so I started journaling a few years ago, just writing my thoughts down and penning it down, and being able to look back on your thoughts from years ago helps you kind of slow down and gain perspective on like, or, I have come a long way and I have done all of this growth. Because sometimes, you're going through life and you can't really see for yourself, like you can't really take yourself out of your body and to look. But the journaling kind of helps with that. And especially in a world where technology is all around us, our lives are moving faster than ever before. And being able to slow down and write your thoughts down, really like kind of realize them, write them down, is really important to like just reflecting. So it's great that you've managed to develop that habit, which I know some people have trouble with. So it's really amazing. So thank you for sharing that with us. Now we're moving on to the interview section of the episode. And my first question for you is, how would you define home organization?
So home organization to me goes beyond the aesthetics of it. So if you go on Instagram or Pinterest and look for home organization tips or goals, you see all these perfectly matching bins and containers and the labels, and it almost feels unrealistic and it feels unattainable. And that's a myth that I bust on my Instagram page. If you go and look at my social media, being a home organizer, you'll hardly see the whole feed with before and after pictures, because I don't believe that's what it is. In fact, I believe that home organization focuses on just creating that living space for yourself that reflects your values, what you prioritize, and what brings you joy. And it's a very personal commitment to your life. It's not somebody else's dreams. It's not your home organizing consultant's dreams. It's yours, and it's your curation. So I emphasize 4 aspects. The first one would be purposeful decluttering, and not just decluttering for the sake of it. You hear people taking garbage bags around the home and throwing things that they don't like. What the KonMari method, which I actually draw a lot of inspiration from, tells you to do is go around your home categorically and look for things that you do love. And what gets left behind, you learn from the things that you have not chosen. And then when you let them go with gratitude. And then there's a lot of learning that you can gain from the items that you didn't pick. So that is what purposeful decluttering is. The second one would be to consume mindfully. And this is a core principle, and it aligns not only with my sustainability principles that I advocate for, but also it really helps with overall well-being, because you are not stuffing your homes to the brim, but understanding your spatial boundaries, and also at the same time aligning with what makes it valuable to me that I'm keeping this. How much can I respect this item now that it's in my home? And Marie Kondo actually talks about how you treat your items just like people in your life, and you wouldn't ignore them or not talk to them or not respect them. So, you treat your items just like you would, with people, you would treat them the same way, with respect. The third thing would be focusing on systems, functional systems, to be more specific. And this is something that takes precedence over just creating that organization solution, the perfect one, if there is one. And what this does is it ensures that all your items in your home have an objective home, and everyone in the home actually understands where those items belong. And this makes it functional because it aligns with how you use those items, and it's predictable. Where you can find these items is very predictable and doesn't keep changing locations. The fourth one would be, and this is such a powerful principle that I love to share, is home organization should ultimately lead to continuous self-reflection. So it's not just a New Year feat, but it shouldn't be something that you do during Deepavali, which is what Indian homes, they clear their homes during this festival. So it isn't about this one-off event where you just chuck things and then new things come into your home, but it's also when you recognize that you have dynamic seasons of life, right? Your homes also evolve, and they harmonize with that season, whichever season that you're currently in. And in essence, in my perspective, home organization is a journey, and it goes beyond any surface level aesthetics that social media tells you what home organization is about. And you deliberately cultivate or curate a space that reflects who you are, what your way of life is, and your authenticity, I would say.
Absolutely. And it just feels like in approaching home organization in the ways that you mentioned, it also makes it more fulfilling. It also makes it feel more like your home and not like a replica of a Pinterest board or something like that, which, like, just a disclaimer, if that is your style and if that's what you resonate with, that's fine too. But it's important to like reflect on what you resonate with before doing a replica of something else. So I also wanted to ask you, what, as a parent, what do you think is the importance of paying close attention to kids' room organization? Does it affect the children inhabiting the room? Does it affect the house as a whole?
Absolutely. So when I work with clients, with families, and I work particularly with clients who have children, at the beginning, they all share that, when we got married, my husband and I, or my partner and I, or wife and I, we had very little. And once my child came along, all our living spaces were covered in every toy imaginable, and the books were strewn everywhere. And I just can't seem to get a hang of how to get them all in their proper homes. And I feel like I'm the only one putting things away, and it's overwhelming me because I'm decluttering all the time. And so as a Montessori parent educator, I would say organizing a child's space is crucial. because it does directly impact the child's well-being and how they independently move around their home, which is one of the pillars of the Montessori method, if you have to say method. And it really affects the way that they concentrate, the way that they creatively express themselves. And, that sense of chaos is something they internalize if it is not addressed. So it does definitely affect a child's development. If you have a well-organized environment, a child feels safe. When that sense of order is respected, because children, especially until the age of 5, so between the ages of 2 and 5, they crave that sense of order because they have come into this world that is unpredictable. They don't know who to trust, what to believe in, because they look up to the parents. And if the home that they're living in has a predictable sort of rhythm, right? And that includes where they can find their own things. They're not depending on someone else to give them what they need at that moment. And also, they can trust their home. They can trust the dynamics in the home. And once they can, because they interact with concrete elements, which is a very Montessori principle, then they can start looking at the abstract world in their home and outside of it. So we always believe to start with the concrete environment as much as possible so that they have that sense of predictability. They can explore with freedom and safety. And it does help in their development in more ways than just one. So I definitely think it is really important to have the whole home rather than just your child's space organized or only the parent's space organized. It has to feel harmonious. And when I work with clients, this is one thing I share with them. We're not creating a child-centric home. This is what the 21st century parent wants to do. We overcompensate for things that we weren't given when we were children. And so we try to give our children everything. And so our home reflects that, unfortunately. And what happens with this is the child feels that I'm the most important person in this home. But what is important to note is we look at the entire family's needs and we make it a family-centric home rather than a child-centric home. And there's mutual respect and mutual needs are heard and understood. And that's how you look at the home as a whole.
That's really, really interesting. I never knew that. So what are some important factors you consider before or when designing a space with the kid in mind?
So from a Montessori perspective and a positive parenting perspective, I would say a child-friendly space promotes a couple of principles. The one would be accessibility, keeping it simple, so simplicity, and order. And this is one of the productivity principles, which we all know, which is everything is in its place and a place for everything, which means you have a predictable, objective location for everything, and everything goes back into that place when that item has been used and you're done using with it and it needs to go back. So I recommend low open shelves for children with, easy items, in terms of containers for accessing. And, in general, a clutter-free environment helps to give the child that freedom. I can explore the space safely. I can get my own toy from that shelf, from that one basket. I can see the toys in it. I don't have to pry open. I've seen a lot of parents have these large baskets with a lot of toys inside, and then the child has to append the basket, and then everything falls out. And the child is not learning respect in that sense. So make it easy by having a shallow basket with one category of toy in it. And you're indirectly teaching the child that we respect everything in our home, whether it's your sibling, whether it's me, whether it's your toy. And so you create the systems as well that will allow your child to access it themselves, put it away themselves. Of course, there's a lot of hand-holding in the beginning, a lot of it. We're not expecting independence now that we have the space. But what is important to know is just keen observation. And this is something Maria Montessori emphasized in her philosophy, which is the parent or the adult in that environment, they act like keen scientific observers. They observe the child and tweak the environment to make sure that their developmental needs are matched. And at the end of the day, we want the space to be safe. We want the space to be nurturing and engaging.
Yeah. And it also sounds like in doing this, you're setting an example for your kids to learn how to organize for themselves, or at least to have that normalized for them, that there's like an SOP, if you will, like standard operating procedure. I remember that's a term that my mom used actually when she was teaching me how to put my own things away. And she was like, right, this is an organization and you have to put things back this way, this way, this way. It's just really easy. It's just, you don't like, the first few times like might be a bit more difficult to grasp and you might need a bit of brain thinking, but after a few times it's just muscle memory, and by that point, everything flows smoothly and easily, and that's something your kids will kind of pick up on and instill in themselves in the future. So it sounds like a great thing to kind of instill from the get-go. Yeah. So how important is it to involve children in the process of decluttering and organizing? Like I know that you mentioned that it's important for them to learn how to put their own things away, but let's say you're decluttering the toys. What do you think about that?
So I strongly believe that the parent first finishes decluttering their own spaces first, because if you start with the child's space, they're going to feel very defensive, and you haven't established trust with them when it comes to if you ever happen to declutter or throw their things away when they're in school or when they're at their grandma's. So it's really important to first finish decluttering your own spaces as an adult first, because they're watching you, they're hearing you talk about your decluttering journey. You may talk about it during lunchtime or dinner time and say, you know what, I gave away that coat that I wasn't wearing and somebody else really enjoyed it and I loved how it finally has a loving home now. And so they're watching you, they're observing you, they're just listening to everything, because children absorb, without effort. It's effortless for them. So you are leading by example first. And more importantly, you've planted the seeds of decluttering. So it's not just, hey, let's start. You have too many books, you have too many toys, and it starts becoming this super naggy or unpleasant experience for them, because they'll be like, hey, back off. This is my space, right? So we want to give children that sense of ownership. We want to help them feel confident, because like you said very rightly, we want this to be a skill that they learn slowly and they learn to enjoy it, because we can't escape organizing. It's not something someone can do for us. And it's not just the home organizing bit. When we teach our children how to organize their space, we're teaching them how do you organize when you have to plan a project when you're in high school, or when you have to do a presentation when you start work. You're helping them organize their thoughts as well, which is something that they get good at only when they've had multiple opportunities to practice that sort of tangible organizing skill. So I think it's really important that you, in fact, I tell my clients, declutter when your children are home, your spaces, so that they're watching you. They don't think there's a magic wand or an elf that has been working on the home and they come back from school and everything is, beautifully set up. Really show them the messes, show them that you're creating a system. You can start with one shelf. It doesn't have to be the whole home where they're seeing mountains of clothes everywhere. So, but before you can begin with your child, I would say make sure that you're finding a good time to do it, which is what I mentioned at the start. Connect with them, play with them, make sure they're well rested, well fed, and just bite-sized. You can say, hey, why do we simplify? Why do we declutter? And share a little bit about your story, and read a book. There are plenty of books. I have it on my blog as well. You can start again planting the seeds. The first step is simply planting the seeds, and share how simplicity aligns with your family's values and why you even want to do this. Show them how you donate. Take them to a charity store. Show them where their items go and how it helps people who don't have as much as us. And you're gradually teaching them these values, and not just one big lesson on decluttering and let's fold our clothes the KonMari way. So you're being realistic and you're sorting, categorizing, really making it bite-sized, and you're setting your child up for success. You're not just, like I said, making one big lesson out of it. They don't want to be lectured. No way. They want it to be engaging and fun. And, there are lots of tools out there that can get parents to make them excited. So simple thing would be, let's fold our clothes like origami. So you can start with an origami paper and learn how to fold a t-shirt, with just a square, with just some of the KonMari folds, and then move on to a simple t-shirt and see. So I start with socks for children because it's so easy, and then lining them up like soldiers in a little box with a speed bump on the top. You can use words like this, and you want to, keep the words and language really simple. The key to this is keep that connection and collaboration in mind always. Handhold as much as possible, because independence doesn't happen overnight. In fact, it doesn't have to. Maybe that's their way of connecting with you. Tidying can be a ritual. In fact, the whole family chips in when we have to reset our home. And you want to tell them that it's a shared responsibility. It's not something mommy does or daddy does or someone else in the home does. It's something we all do because we love our home so much. Just like we love our dog, just like we love each other, So I think if you shift that mindset around decluttering as, oh my goodness, we need to throw, but rather, oh my goodness, this is a skill that we all learn together, because probably the parent was never taught this skill from their, adults in their life. So we learn it together. It's just like cooking or driving or swimming. I think it's a skill that can be, reframed this way to be learned. And it will be sustainable. You want to not even expect anything to be shown when the child is in your home. In fact, some of my parents will be like, I've taught them everything and they still don't keep their cupboards clean or tidy. And I tell them, you know what, they'll probably learn this when they have a roommate they have to share their apartment with. And then their roommate will call up and say, my friend, which is your kid, taught me how to put my socks in order, or taught me how to work on this project from start to finish. And that's when the seeds will start to show some growth. You never know. So, if you hold back your expectations that it needs to sprout while they're with you, then that would be a little bit unrealistic or putting too much pressure on your child. So simply enjoy planting the seeds, watering the seeds, giving that fertile soil. That's all you can do as a parent. So it really, your expectations can be held off.
Yeah, and in general, planting the seeds as when they're kids is really the perfect time to do it, because they're so impressionable. They haven't been to the outside world yet. This is really the entire world, and in gamifying the process, they get to, like, kids love being cashiers. Kids love pretending that adults. You can kind of make it a game and be like, we're working in a retail store now. Let's like, one of the things you've got to do is fold the clothes. Like, don't you love doing that? And then you can kind of play with it, like, oh, here's some Monopoly money. Kids love doing that. In making a game out of it, it becomes fun, and that's where they learn the best, through games. So that sounds really, really good, like really, really good advice. And the next thing I wanted to ask you was about when involving kids in decluttering their toys, what guidelines should be kept in mind?
So at the beginning, start with the easiest category. I would say never start with their toys. That is something that will set you up for failure, because toys are something most kids are very attached to, because they, provide that sense of comfort and safety. And, the toys are an extension of their life, because you've seen them role playing, you've seen them pretend play with their animals and their stuffies. So toys is something that is more in the sentimental category. So start with something easy. And most kids are not so sentimental about their clothes. So I would say the first thing would be start with your children's clothes. And in the clothes, maybe not with their the T-shirts that their grandma gave them or something. Underwear, socks, these are super easy. So you're thinking of tidying like a marathon. It's not a sprint. So you break it up into small chunks, doable in 10 to 15 minutes in a day, and you're not making it one long drawn process. And start with the category, get them to, you can even ask them questions like, So if we had 10 pairs of socks, what would you award the gold medal? So what would you award the silver medal and the bronze medal? So you've got the favorites out, and they're like, tell me why you chose these. Are they comfortable? Do you like the print? So they'll talk about what they love rather than, why did we throw that away? Are you sure? Isn't that what your best friend gave you? So you're not doubting the choices that they made on the things that they left behind, but rather you're shifting the focus on what they did choose, so that you're understanding your child better and you can make more informed decisions when they have to buy their next pair of socks, right? So they will be like, Mom, I probably need maybe 2 or 3 more pairs of this particular type of socks because, they don't bite at the ankle. I love the way my toes can jiggle and it's super comfy around the heel area. Then you make informed buying decisions as well. So again, start with something easy, get them to choose what they love, ask more reflective questions about the why, and then again, look at the pile that was left behind and say, I'm wondering why these were not chosen. Could you share why? And sometimes I tell my clients, if they have older kids, to really journal about the reasons why they didn't choose something, because again, that is a wonderful way to be intentional about purchasing later and not making the same mistakes again. The next category I would say to start with is books. Again, what do you love to read? If we had friends over, who would you give these books to borrow out and have them give it back? Because then you really want those books back in the home. Which ones are you willing to let go because you are not enjoying them anymore? I'm curious about that. So I love the statement, I'm curious, or what's your plan about these books? You're just giving that sense of ownership back to the child rather than questioning them or doubting their decisions. And again, if they have a developmentally lower book that they've decided to keep. So for example, if they have a picture book and they're already reading chapter books and they choose to keep a picture book, you're just, again, curious. I wonder why. Do you like Julia Donaldson? So they may be like, yeah, I needed it for a book club or some kind of event in school. And so you really are curious about their choices. And even if they want a book that they've finished reading at another season of their life, that's completely fine. But what is extremely important as we move along these categories is, as the parent, the one thing that we do control is the amount of space we allocate for each category, because that is something that we cannot negotiate. Because kids, if you give them a choice, they will want every single little box to put their little trinkets and treasures. They will want every shelf that you have empty, even if it's not in their space. So what you can control is, hey, so I have like 3 shelves. What do you plan to use the first one for? Oh, oops, we've finished one shelf and there's no more space on that. So which other basket can we use? Oh, I wonder how we can clean the floor if those baskets are all over there. So, you are still letting your spatial boundaries to guide their decision making, but you're not letting your decisions or your perspectives or opinions or judgments to come in the way of theirs. So I think that is very important. And lastly, you will work with artwork. You can have a display for artwork, and the rest of it can be filed away in a box, a treasure box. And you would then move on to sentimental items. Again, with sentimental items, I love telling my clients that, show them off, give them a display shelf. If they've created little creations out of Lego, let them have it out there. You give them a shelf to display. Sometimes parents come to me and say, I'm constantly stepping on Lego bricks, or they have this half done and I cannot vacuum. And I encourage them to give the kids the top of a cabinet, or even in the living room, you can have a little curated shelf of the child's creations, and those can be a talking point. And it's a matter of pride as well, an achievement for the child. So these are ways that you can get the child involved in the decluttering process.
That is so cute. And it also kind of gives them this idea. It kind of displays this idea that you are trying your best to give them what they need, but also without giving them, like, surrendering entitlement to them, and making them think that they're they're entitled to everything in the house. So that's a great way to do that, especially with displaying their little toys and things like that, which they'll be really, really proud of, especially as kids when that's your entire world, with that little Lego model that you build. Giving them that sense of pride and accomplishment is really important. And it also sticks with them throughout their life, and instills this idea that, you shouldn't be afraid of, you shouldn't feel bad to be proud of your own work and your own art, which is other little seeds apart from organization. And I just love how all of this just intertwines. So thank you so much for sharing that. Now, are there any storage solutions that you can recommend that work well with the KonMari approach that you was talking about, as far as organizing toys goes?
So there are a few things to note and not that many. So the market is flooded with fancy organizing solutions. You have koala bears and space-themed bins and rope. I don't know, there are these rattan baskets with these fancy creatures on the top. So I would say keep it simple. From a KonMari as well as Montessori perspective, we want to keep our materials very simple to access, which means you want to keep the larger, deeper containers for things like the basket, for things like their stuffies or really large wooden blocks or foam blocks. But anything else that's tiny, any figurines or loose parts, you want to give each of those categories a shallow basket or tray and avoid lids as much as possible. Because that is one thing that's going to prevent your child from putting it back. When you have an extra step, you will be assured that the child will find it extremely cumbersome. What I love in child space is low open shelving. So no doors, no drawers as much as possible. You want it to be visible because when the child sees, they will play. They are really out of sight, out of mind type of creatures or beings. So you want to make it really accessible to them. They want to see, and also it encourages them to keep it looking like it's in order when it's not hidden. So when it's open, it's accessible, it's inviting. That's the word that is something that you have to keep in your mind. And, label it with pictures of the actual toy rather than something you get on the internet. In fact, some of my families have Polaroid cameras and I'm like, let's get it out. Get the child to take a picture from a flat lay and take a little Polaroid picture of that toy. And then you get these beautiful little clips that you can just put on the edge of the basket. And then the child knows that, hey, that's the home for that toy at the end of the day. And then you can, probably save that Polaroid, or it can be discarded with gratitude when it's done. And then when the child is ready to write, they can write in their beautiful little scrawls of their actual item in that basket. In fact, my daughter is ready to, she's made her own labels, and I shared it recently on my Instagram. And she's made rainbow colors all around her letters. She's written in cursive, I think. And, it's really a matter of pride that this is an, space that I co-created, along with my mom. And so it just becomes a space that they help to maintain as well. It's not just somebody else's job. Another tip is to avoid micro-categorizing. So I would say things like, if you have a vehicle box, that's great. But if you have one for planes or one for cars and one for, if they have too many, then it's fine. If the child is vehicle obsessed, then absolutely, they can have separate little, again, shallow containers or baskets. But if you can avoid having one large basket with all of the toys inside, try to have maybe 2 or 3 of the child's favorites amongst those different micro categories, and keep it simple, because we're not thinking of how they want to access. We're also thinking of the whole loop of that item, the cycle of it, which is putting things back. How am I going to arrange this item so that it is easy for my child to put things back at the end of the day with minimal help or assistance? Because at the end, it's not about, it's my child's stuff. They have to put things away themselves, but rather, how do I empower my child to take ownership? How do I make them feel successful and confident? And while I watch them with pride and give them that sense of accomplishment. So it's a reframe.
Yeah, I especially love the tip about the Polaroids and the
Yeah, I could see your eyes
labels.
light up.
Yeah, I remember because I remember as a kid, my mom had a label maker, and I was so excited to help her label everything. And
Yes,
so
they
that's
love that.
like I can vouch for that advice. And also with the Polaroids, a great idea is after they've grown up and when they've decided they don't want the toys anymore, you can turn it into a little scrapbook
Yeah,
of all
absolutely.
these memories of your toys from the
The toys.
past.
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
that. I love
So
that.
that is absolutely an amazing, great idea. But like, I also partially feel biased because I love Polaroids.
Oh,
I'm Polaroid obsessed. I have like two Polaroid cameras. It's really fun.
it
It's
is. For
like,
a child, it totally
yeah.
is. Yeah.
Yeah, getting like the process of waiting for it to like see how the picture will turn out and getting them to use a camera, like a proper camera that isn't like a phone, is really exciting for them from start to finish. And I feel like I'm saying that as if I experienced cameras as a kid like just yesterday, but I really can remember what it's like, and it will be so exciting for them. So that will make it just 10 times more fun. So lastly, what advice do you have for parents who might be hesitant to start decluttering the process of decluttering with their children's belongings? How do you think they can overcome any potential resistance from the kids apart from what you've already shared with us?
So I think one of the biggest reasons parents hesitate to do this with their kids is it takes a lot of time. So they would rather get it out of the way by doing it themselves. And
Yeah.
I think we are really robbing our children that opportunity to learn a life skill. So I know it's painful. Like it's pretty much similar when we want our children to cook with us. There's going to be a lot of messes in the
Oh
kitchen, right?
yeah.
There's flour everywhere. There's oil everywhere. It's going to be messy, but the mess is temporary. It is not permanent. It can be cleaned up. And that was a big mindset shift for me because I was so picky about the way things had to be in my home. But my kids really helped me to break that cycle, and my dog. So I'm like, everything is impermanent anyway. And it can be cleaned up, and that's not permanent again. So the fact that messes help your child ultimately grow as these beautiful, holistically developed individuals is a gift that we give them. So reframe the whole decluttering as a messy, time consuming, unnecessary thing that you do, for your kids, but rather it's meaningful, it's an empowering, collaborative experience. And it can be, if it's raining outside, or if it's horrible to go outside, it's hot or it's cold, it's a lovely at-home activity that doesn't involve a screen, right? So you reframe the whole experience as something that you use to bond together. You're like, hey guys, we don't have anything to do. There's no cable, there's no Netflix, there's no nothing. Why don't we do this? But of course, make sure that the seeds have been planted before, and you do it slowly and gradually. And you're showing them that tidying up is a shared responsibility. It's not just something that the adults in the home do. And you just ease into the process as much as possible. Give them as many experiences, however short they are. Help them feel capable. Uh, Ironically, children want to feel like they can contribute in the home as much as we want them to feel comfortable and protect them and feel like, oh, it's not okay for them to be vacuuming or dusting or fold the laundry. They actually want to contribute in many ways. And so this is a wonderful way for them to feel that sense of belonging and significance and appreciate any effort they make. Hey, you put all the whites away in the white laundry basket, and you brought my socks over. Oh, you picked up the socks from the puppy's mouth. He stole it. You want to keep it really an experience of gratitude and appreciation for each other, and appreciate any effort, however big or small or whatever it is. Yeah, and you want to make them feel like this is something that, hey, I can do this. You want to get them to feel that way so that it's a skill they take with them for life.
And in return, they'll also feel the same gratitude towards you for helping them all the times that,
Absolutely.
you did all their laundry. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. That was incredibly insightful as an expert and a mother. Now we'll move on to the practices and habits section. And this is the part where we talk about the practical sides of things. My first question for you is, what is a habit that you practice when maintaining your living spaces, especially with regards to toy organization?
So in our home, we do something called a daily reset, and the whole family does this just before bedtime, brushing teeth and all of the rituals that happen then. So the daily reset, and some families do a weekly reset, but in our family, we do that. Before the daily reset happens, I actually designate a holding zone where I'll, during the day, the kids have their books everywhere, their stationaries all over the place, and they like to do their homework with us on the dining table, although they have their own study tables. So, their stuff is everywhere, their bags. And I'm like, hey guys, we have all your books there. I'm going to put mine away. Can you put this one away first? You're not saying, can you just tidy up? It's not just one statement, blanket statement, because it's overwhelming for them. So we break it down. Hey, can the older one, what would you like to do? You want the books, or you want to put the bags away? And the other one can do something else. You're really telling them exact tasks that could be done. And or you don't even have to specify. You can say, hey, is there some of your stuff lying on the table? Can you just split the tasks, between the two of you, and then can it be put away while we are doing ours? And the temporary holding zone really helps me with my sanity, because if I just do it once going around the home, it gets overwhelming for me. So, and even for the kids. So having that all in one place helps them to look at how much actually came out and what needs to go where in their proper homes. In this way, I think we're just gently guiding our children, put things away before you transition to the next activity, which is brushing your teeth. And it's again a way to connect together. It's a way to share that experience of maintaining the home together. And I highly recommend it to, all families.
And do you ever find any challenges when doing this practice?
So absolutely. So like any regular activity, be it cooking or tidying up, there are days when even the adults find it very tiresome, right? We don't want to cook one day. We're like, let's just do takeout. Tidying also can be like that. So, someday your kids will be like, Mama, I'm really tired. I just can't do this today. Like, can we just do it tomorrow? And that's absolutely fine. There are days when I just don't want to lift a finger and I just want to shower and get into bed. And things will just be, strewn around, and that's fine. When you tidy your home with the functional systems in place, using the KonMari method, I feel there's that comfort knowing that they will go back into their homes at one point. So the challenge is it may not be done at the time that you thought it would be done, but there is comfort knowing that it will be done sometime this week, and it's totally fine if it doesn't go back in that time that you thought it would be perfect. So that's something that, again, you accept and let go, because it's just that much you can do in that day. And everyone's energy levels are, to be, you gauge everyone's energy levels and keep adjusting and flowing with life.
Yeah, and they're kids too. They're really tiny. It's like you can't expect them to be able to do everything all the time. So that's totally fair. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Now we're moving on to the open mic section. And this is your chance to talk about anything that you're passionate about. And it doesn't have to be related to the topic. So the floor is yours. Take it away.
So this is a tough question to answer, only because I think I will take forever. But people who know me well know that I'm multi-passionate. I have so many things I am passionate about. But the one thing that's, stands out as an umbrella of all these different passions is my love for learning. And I think I will be a student for life in that sense. It comes from my need to learn as much as I can in this limited time that I have on this earth, because I obviously have differing interests in the different seasons of my life. And, one of the things that I took up recently was grooming my dog. I literally took a course on how I can cut my dog's hair.
Wow.
And I don't need to send him to a groomer's now. And it's not to save money. That could be a bonus. But it takes a lot of time but I just love how mindful I am when I'm doing it, because I have to make sure I'm doing it safely. He and I are bonding. We're looking into each other's eyes. He trusts me and he's not fearing going to a groomer. There's a lot of positives to this, and I can get my kids to help out in a shared activity, and people find that I'm all over the place when it comes to these different skill sets. I learned how to use a sewing machine. So I have a twin sister, and the two of us sing. So we love singing when we get together. My child and I, we love to draw. We love watercolor painting. Recently started brush calligraphy. So there's so many things that I love to learn about, because I think it's not about, again, I think I shared this before, that I'm not coming from a place of I don't know enough, so I'm not worthy. But instead, it's coming from I am worthy and I deserve to learn as much as I would like to at this point in my life, so that I can make my life interesting and enriching. And, there's a different joy in creating with your hands. There's really a different joy. And I would recommend it to everyone. In fact, my kids and I have been asking me to take some pottery lessons with them. So that might be the next. We did a taster session last month. So that's another one that we might do if we have
my
the time.
gosh, that sounds incredible. I've always wanted to learn pottery.
Yeah.
It's really huge right now as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know about the huge. One of my friends mentioned I live under a rock. Aparna, you live under a rock, because I've actually switched off from the news because I get my news from my husband and my friends. But I don't know what's trending. But I do know that when we sit in silence, when we reflect on our day, we do understand what we see ourselves doing and feeling at the end of it. So just keep letting that guide your interests, and take up anything that you feel is worthy of your time and worthy of your creative efforts and energy, and it will pay off in beautiful ways.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there. Most of the time, it's also like sheer curiosity. And why wouldn't you want to satiate that? Why wouldn't you think that you're not worthy of more, of learning all of this? You are, so you should. So that's a great sentiment to have. Thank you so much for teaching us so much about kids organization and, turning it into something that's enjoyable. It's been really fun learning about your perspective on things. If our listeners want to find out more about you, where can they go?
So I'm primarily on Instagram and have a Facebook page. So if any of you want to go and look at my work, I'm at Global Mindful Journey. And the link in my bio, I believe, should be able to lead to my email address as well. So I have a lot of followers who will specifically ask me, what do I do with this space? Or I struggle with letting this item go. What kind of mindset could I embrace? So I'm always open to answering any of your questions. I'm very generous with my time. And I think I just want to make time where I feel useful. I can help you get started and support you wherever you are in your living intentionally journey.
All right, that's amazing. We'll link those in the show notes below. Global Mindful Journey. Thank you everyone for tuning in. We hope you learned something about the KonMari method and incorporating that into kid-friendly living spaces. And we'll see you in the next episode.
You've been listening to Room by Room, produced by the Home Organisation Science Labs, a division of LMSL, the Life Management Science Labs. More episodes like this from across 10 life management perspectives can be found by searching LMSL on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, and other podcasting apps available on your smart devices. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider rating our show, sharing it, and subscribing to our channel, as it helps other people find it so we can grow and bring you more quality resources. More of our work can be found on our website at ho.lmsl.net, where you can join our movement. I'm Gabriella Yastra. Thanks for tuning in.